Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to thank all of the members who spoke and all of those who did not, but who have participated in this budget debate. Today, we will pass one of the earliest budgets in California history. And it would be easy as the leader here to get up and do a point-counterpoint to all of the different things that have been said, but I choose not to do that to every point. Instead, to try to put our challenge here as senators, each representing nearly 1 million people, in some perspective. I was listening especially to the public safety debate during the public safety realignment discussion and wondered whether these difficult decisions are really a catch between two conflicting values. And I don't mean conflicting values between Democrats and Republicans. I mean two conflicting values internal to the members that have doubts about this plan. For representative government requires us to make choices. We don't just get to put our point of view out there and then not reconcile when we have a conflict between the things that we believe. And the fact of the matter is, we're here in part because if some members of one party don't make choices, or if some members, period, don't make choices that result in the numbers, in this case $27.5 billion, to add up, the people rightfully ask, what are you doing up there? My colleagues on the other side of the aisle acknowledge that the cuts we've made over the last 2 days are deep and painful. And as you speak about boards and commissions and efficiencies, nothing that you have suggested adds up to the $12.5 billion that the governor and the majority party ask you to put before the people. As you speak about pensions, you fail to acknowledge that 40% of the Republican caucus last year, when we had the opportunity, in fact, did roll back SB 400, which was the big Gray Davis pension increase, 40% of the Republican caucus failed to vote for that. And so as a matter of simple mathematics, how do the efficiencies, the reforms, the elimination of commissions, many of which we've done, but we could, of course, do more, how does that add up to the $12.5 billion that the governor and the majority party seek to put before the people? And then you look at the key question: what happens if the people don't have a choice? What happens if the people aren't allowed to vote? And it's easy for any partisan politician to get up and claim that the sky is going to fall. And that's why it's so important that the only impartial analyst we know, the legislative analyst, puts out a letter, which I recall Senator Huff and other leading members of the minority party responding without severe criticism of the report itself. It's acknowledged as fairly accurate. When you look at what the impact would be of not giving people the choice. We talk about public safety, to get back to Senator Harman's argument and others' arguments. The LAO says that we will have to keep low-level offenders in the community. We will have to eliminate parole. But we'll have to do all of that without any resources for local public safety officials to be able to administer anything. Why is that a good result for public safety? On education, the legislative analyst tells us that we will probably have to make cuts to the tune of $5 billion. Many ways, I'm sure, to do that, none of them pleasant. I know in my district and in districts, I'm sure throughout your state, they're already taking conditional votes to eliminate extracurricular activities, to lay off teachers. We do know that $5 billion represents, if you do the simple math, $200 million a day to cut a day off of school instruction. If you went that route, that's 25 days. That's 5 weeks of school plain gone. Higher education, another $1 billion. The LAO tells us we would have to cut. For every $100 million, we deny almost 10,000 young people admission to the University of California and over 13,000 young people admittance to the California State University system. Which leads me to my last point, and it is in response to my friend Senator Strickland and others. Senator Strickland said, our priorities, speaking for the party, are with the people of California. And I believe you are sincere. And when the question gets asked, are Republicans relevant? I'm kind of offended by the question, because to me, Republicans are relevant because you have a legitimate point of view on a lot of issues, and you represent 1 million people, and the system, especially what remains of the two-thirds system, gives you a voice. But I would remind you, not in any kind of an arrogant manner or in any boastful fashion, that elections matter. We had an election several months ago, and the people resoundingly elected Governor Brown over Meg Whitman, who had a very different philosophy. The people returned strong Democratic majorities to both houses. The people elected 5 statewide Democratic elected officials. And so as we go forward with, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, as we go forward in the difficult days ahead, I hope that we can agree on proportionality. In other words, you get up on the floor and you say, this is the way we think the world should be, and this is what we think is wrong with California. All right, we agree with some of it. We don't agree with all of it. And so whether it's 5 members or the entire caucus, whoever is going to engage in the discussions with us over the days ahead as we try to reach a resolution, I would urge you to recognize that in order to get this done, because you can't answer the $12.5 billion question, nobody can other than what is really before us, that you acknowledge that elections matter. And that as we talk about pensions, again, an issue by evidence from last year you actually have some concerns with. As we talk about spending restraint, which we're willing to talk about, as we talk about regulatory reform, that your demands and your asks be proportional in some way to your representation here in this body and in California. Otherwise, the people are going to say, what are you all doing up there? The field poll yesterday indicated very strongly that the majority of Californians and even the majority of Republicans believe that this question of giving the people the right to vote should be on the ballot. So use your power, use your leverage, appropriate, but do it in a way that is proportional to what the people have said the public policy should be here in California. I urge an aye vote on this budget, one of the earliest budgets in state history, and let's finish the job over the next several days. Thank you.